I've always had imposter syndrome, or I'm modesty, or I'm not very good at being like, yes, this is everything that I've done.
Hello and welcome to Here in LA, Los Feliz edition. Today we talk with Lauren Randolph, better known as Lauren Lemon, to her 200,000 fans on Instagram. This delightful Lauren is a professional photographer whose work has appeared in magazines, ads, and billboards. She and I met when she was asked to shoot the Academy Awards for the Oscars. In her visit, she had a ringside seat to the famous envelope gate where she just snapped the mayhem from a mere feet away. She was super close. Because Lauren has been a resident of Los Feliz for a while, she even clues me in on what she considers the best burger in town from a very unlikely joint. So smile pretty for the birdie as we chat with this Los Feliz superstar. I am here with Lauren Randolph, otherwise known as Lauren Lemon.
Lauren Lemon on the internet.
And I am in your incredibly colorful, beautiful apartment. And we're at the kitchen table, which looks like a lemon.
It's my lemon table. This is my office.
Is this really your office?
Yeah, I mean, I work from home, so this is what I call my office.
You are a famous photographer. Yes, you are. Do you have a blue check mark next to your socials?
I do.
That means you're famous.
Okay, great.
And we're in Los Feliz.
We are in Los Feliz.
How long have you lived in Los Feliz?
It's 10 years this year, actually, in the same apartment. So,
And this is a great apartment. You are close to public transit.
very close.
You could walk to Griffith Park. Mm-hmm. Do you ever walk to the Greek?
If I drove to the Greek from here, come on. I love shows at the Greek because I can just trek up the hill. Going up is hard, going down is great.
Yeah.
I regret my decision on the way up, but on the way down, I'm like, I am so glad I walked.
She's wearing a Dodgers t-shirt, jersey t-shirt. Mm-hmm. Are you a Dodger fan?
I am now, after being in LA for 10 years, 12 years. So,
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
You grew up in Nevada?
I grew up in Reno.
Nice.
Northern Nevada. Not a Vegas person. Bless Vegas, but we have our own. It's like San Francisco and LA.
There's a little rivalry.
There's a little rivalry, which is why, being from Reno, I kind of grew up. I didn't really watch baseball. My dad wasn't a sports guy or whatever, but the Giants were basically the team.
Yeah.
So I have some love for the Giants. So this series that they're playing right now, postseason, Giants versus Dodgers, pretty huge.
I consider it the World Series.
I agree, actually. Honestly.
Who cares about these other teams?
Same.
Well, I got to say, looking at your apartment and how colorful it is and how beautiful it is. Oh, look at you got the Beastie Boys book over there. You have such. I mean, this kind of looks like your Instagram feed a little bit in that it's really, really colorful. Have you always been attracted to bright colors?
Yeah, I went to school for journalism because I've always been really into magazines. Like growing up, I would just read, Entertainment Weekly, all the teeny bopper magazines, and literally like love the photos. Like I remember Rolling Stone would always have incredible photography. And it didn't at first, I was also just obsessed with pop culture. So it didn't at first strike me as like, oh, this is the photography I'm attracted to. It was like, oh, you're into the culture and music and things like that. But then once I started taking photos and kind of started being creative with it, my photography has always been very colorful. I always was the person that, kept their crayon box organized by color and took pride in that. So
I used to have 10 magazine subscriptions because I was the same way.
Same, yeah.
I love the pic. I mean, obviously the words are fine, but the pic, there's no blank wall space because I would have, even the ads.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Vogue would have the greatest ads.
Or back in the day, I used to collect the got milk ads because they would always have, the new hottest celebrity. I think like I also as a teenager would just like line my room, like wallpaper it with posters and everything. And I think I had a got milk section.
So, what made you choose LA?
I my sister was here. I think that was the easiest answer. I always thought that I would live in San Francisco. Growing up in Reno, like that was the big city we would go to, and I remember walking around. And this is so funny, but in my mind, I had a vision of me walking around with like a briefcase, like as a businesswoman. I don't know what career I thought I was going to be, but I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to live in the city. That didn't happen.
Have you ever had a briefcase?
I have my dad's old briefcase that I store like paper, like stuff in, but I've never used one. I should. That'd be fun.
I've had a couple. It just makes me feel like a sellout. It makes me feel like I'm not doing the thing I want to do.
Yeah. Well, and I have, as a photographer, I carry like 10 times the amount of stuff for a briefcase. So now I've got a car full of gear instead of a briefcase full of papers. It's fine.
That's so great that you're that close with your sister. Is she older?
She's younger. Yeah, so she graduated high school and then moved right away. She was LA bound right from the get-go, where I was still finishing up school, and took me a little bit longer to get through college. I was on the like 6-year plan.
Same.
I had a great time, all that, socializing and everything. So then when I moved, she was already down here, pursuing acting, going to school down here. And then I just joined her, and we lived together in West Hollywood for 2 years before moving to Los Feliz. And I've been here since. So
I would think that you would have loved West Hollywood.
yeah, it seemed like a good fit for us. And she had lived in LA, so she kind of knew the neighborhood a little bit, and she had friends that lived over there. But it was just, and we lived in a great neighborhood, like right off Santa Monica, kind of like east of La Brea area, right near Plummer Park.
Yeah.
Great area, but it just wasn't like my vibe. And after living in LA for a couple years, I very much knew I was like, needed to go a little more east. Los Feliz, Silver Lake, Echo Park, obviously. I'm a real hipster, so I was like drawn to those parts. But I always said like Los Feliz is the dream neighborhood, but I probably couldn't afford it. And then when we were starting to look, this place was at the very high end of what we could afford, but we instantly went for it. And then they didn't raise our rent for years, and then they just raised it very small amounts since. So now it's at the very low end for the neighborhood. And
Well, I could see why they wanted big money for this. You've got two big bedrooms. Do you have two baths too?
like 1.5.
And really high ceilings in the living room, and a cool kitchen. Did that spice rack come with?
No, we installed everything.
You did a great job with the
Everything's
spice rack.
outdated, but the layout and the high ceilings and the location.
Why was Los Feliz your dream neighborhood?
It's so walkable. It's really charming. Even before I lived here, I remember going to eat at Alcove outdoor seating and just being like, oh, this is so LA to be able to eat outside in January. And I would take my mom here, and it was super cute. And yeah, honestly, like it's just the walkability for me. I use my car when I have to go to work and like run errands, but for the most part, it stays parked. I have a parking spot, thankfully. But I walk everywhere. I walk to the grocery store. I walk to bars. I walk to coffee every day. I walk all up to Griffith and what I call the rich neighborhoods.
It's very rich.
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
Let me think. What bar would be your bar? Are you were you like me, the Good Luck bar?
Loved Good Luck, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Akbar. I guess.
Do you dance at Akbar?
Yeah,
It's just the vibe in there is just so welcoming.
for sure. I have so many friends. That it's just a great community, and it's a real like neighborhood bar too. It's pretty legendary in the queer community, but it doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like a West Hollywood club or like we got to go out. It's just kind of the like yeah, just like a good neighborhood spot.
I kind of wish there was more places like that because even for straight people, um, it's when I lived in San Francisco, there were fully gay bars and fully like frat boy straight ones. And then there was a bunch in between. And even though Akbar is far more on the gay side, I feel like if you are just an open-minded straight man, I don't think women have the issue. It's welcoming.
It is welcoming, and I'm on the cusp of the queer community, so it's very easy for me to just fit right in. But it's also, yeah, like I said, it's just good vibes. Like their summertime programming where they have these bears in space dance parties, their daytime parties, their raves, but the energy is wonderful. It's super welcoming. They've got performances, drag shows. Also, I just love like outdoor daytime parties. So if any excuse to go rave in the sunshine, I'm there.
Do you ever go down the street to El Cid?
No, I'm not. I'm not an El Cid person.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
they're
it
so
is.
close to each other.
4100 though, I'm there.
Yes.
That's a spot too.
Yes. Have you seen that the $5 man has his tent is the curtains from the 4100?
I have not seen that.
Yeah.
Like the ones they took down.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I know they just did a whole. Looks totally different in there.
Which is crazy to me.
It looks great. It was a little too like drapey, bohemian.
You think so?
Like, well, I don't know what they were going for before, but
Like Casablanca or something. So you come to LA. Did you work at Outback right away in LA?
Oh no, Outback was like high school, college.
You became a photographer right away?
Yeah, so I worked at the Outback, and then I started working at this little deli in Reno called Newman's, real like classic deli, and that was my like college job while I was working my way through. And then my first job as a photographer was for the local arts and entertainment, the Reno News and Review, which is like Reno's version of like the LA Weekly or the old LA Weekly, what it was. And I kind of fell into it because my dad was getting interviewed for these like art bikes that he made. And the guy showed up to do the interview without a photographer. And I was like, oh, I'll shoot the photo. And I lit it and made it look super editorial and awesome. And then the editor reached out and was like, hi, we have a position for a photographer. Would you like this job?
What?
And I was like, no, I'm saving money to move to LA. And the editor of this magazine, bless him, literally like looked me in the face because I went in, for the meeting, and he was like, so you want to move to LA to be a photographer? I'm offering you a job as a photographer. Wouldn't it be better to move with a resume? And I kind of like the wheels clicked, and I was like, oh, yes. I will quit my deli job and work as the photographer for this paper. And it was a great experience, obviously, like got to shoot a bunch, had assignments, had to turn them in on time. Every week, new faces, new things. And it was also a really cool job to work finishing up school because I just really got to be like a real who's who around town. Like I got to know a bunch of people. And I also shot photos for nightlife in Reno, not like clubs, but like bars and the beer crawls and things like that. So my last year in Reno, I was very tapped into just like the social scene and also photography. And so then when I moved, I had already been a working photographer and started kind of looking for jobs down here at like agencies. And I don't know, like I didn't think that I could be a photographer right away. So I was trying to find like a part-time job. And it was actually my sister was like, if you spent all the time that you're spending looking for an office job on just like trying to do photography, like maybe you'd be a photographer. And I basically just kind of kept doing that, and jobs started following my lap. I assisted some photographers. I would do retouching and like anything I could kind of get my hands on. And
What year was this?
I moved in 2009.
When did you know that you could do this? Because it sounds like you just jumped from college to.
I mean, in school I was doing photography, and I think I got into it because, um, I got my first digital camera and just started shooting everything, like constantly photographing my friends, photographing every like Friday and Saturday night where we'd be drinking whiskey night shots all night long. Like it was like an impulse. Like I just couldn't hang out without shooting photos. And I had like a little blog where I'd put all my photos up online, and my friends would also then go take them. Um,
What camera was this?
I had like a little, I guess like a Sony point and shoot or something like that, and then I eventually got a Canon Rebel,
Yeah, a real camera.
a real camera, and that with the detachable lenses, and that's when I kind of started like leveling up, and that's when I used that camera for these first jobs in Reno, and then it was in 2009 that I got like a Canon 5D, which was my first like professional camera.
Could you tell the difference between the 5D and the Rebel?
Oh yeah, instantly. And that was about the time where I like needed to, like my eye was good enough that I could tell the difference. Just even being able to shoot in low light and not, needing flash or whatever, that was a big game changer for me.
How early on did you get into Instagram?
I joined Instagram the day it launched.
What?
In which I think they just had their anniversary. It was like October something.
How did you know that it was launching?
Back then there was this like group, I guess it was a website, kind of a blog, a real like photo nerd thing called Photo Jojo. And they did a lot of toy cameras, film cameras, real like photography cult kind of network basically. And I think just within that scene, I just kind of knew it was like, oh, join this new photography app. Didn't think much of it. Joined day one along with some other, photographers that I know. I was kind of tapped into this like photography scene through Flickr. I think there was a really good scene there before Instagram. And honestly, a lot of the like, what I say like early Instagram scene evolved from that like Flickr community. And then through that, I also then kind of started just gaining followers rapidly in those early days. It was a lot different then than it is now. Like the influencer thing hadn't started, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but I think I was right on the cusp of when that all started happening on accident. Like I never went out being like, I'm going to be an influencer. But that's just how things kind of evolved, especially in 2010 when, the Instagram world was just so much smaller and everyone was just exploring. Like it felt very fun and not very serious. And, you would post like 5 photos a day because it was just like a stupid little app. It wasn't Facebook and it wasn't MySpace or, it just felt very quick and easy. And you shot in the Instagram app. So it was like, oh, here's my lunch, and here's my shoes, and here's a car on the street.
Did you use the filters in the frames?
I think at the beginning you couldn't not. Yeah, like there was no way to turn them off. My first Instagram photo was literally from my bed, shooting my desk across the room, just kind of being like, what is this app? Like I had very little thought about it, which I love that now that's my first Instagram photo. I know a lot of people have gone and like archived old stuff or deleted. I never cleaned up my feed. If you want to scroll through like 4,000 photos, they're all there from the early days.
Well, who was your first brand deal? Do you remember?
Yeah, randomly. So Progressive Insurance reached out, and this was in the early Instagram days when it was all iPhone only, or maybe people, that was a big deal. And so I was very good at shooting with the iPhone. I was comfortable using it, knew how to use it to my advantage, and they wanted me to shoot photographs of Flo, who's the like progressive woman. And like 2 days before that job, I had signed the contract. I was about to get paid more than I had like ever made in a job ever, basically. Was going to be able to pay my rent for months with this like progressive job. Instagram sent out an email to people, what they had, that was suggested users list back then, which I was on, which is how I got so many followers. And they were like, hi, we see that a lot of you are starting to get sponsorship deals and post advertisements or whatever. That's not what we stand. This is how things have changed.
Right.
That's not what we stand for. That's not what our community is. So if we see you doing that, you're going to get removed from the suggested users list. And I was like, okay, bye. Like, I'm not going to turn down this job, and what's done is done.
Do you remember how many followers you had at the time?
Um,
Because you have 200,000 now.
yeah, I probably around there because I kept growing,
really?
but then I've also lost a bunch
Which is normal.
over time. And I think
So you had 200,000 or close to it. So you're like still
I was fine. Yeah, maybe like 100. Definitely fine. Like, I was not gonna be hurting any if they removed me. But it's just so funny that now, like, monetizing Instagram is basically what they're banking on. That's what the network or the platform wants you to do. And they've got all these creator tools and things to add. And it was just not like that then.
Was this a hard decision to make?
No, like I said, I got this email and I was already ready to do this progressive job. And honestly, like, getting taken off the suggested users list was fine. It didn't hurt me in any way. I kept moving forward and shooting the photos I was doing. And then after that, better brands that, you know, more aligned with what I wanted to shoot kind of reached out. Like the progressive thing, like, I may not have done that a few years after that, but at the time I was like, okay, you want me to shoot iPhone photos of Flo for how much money? Yeah, great, I'll be there.
Is there something that you do differently on that shoot with an iPhone than I would? Like, do you have a rig? You probably have lighting.
It was already a commercial shoot, so that they had lighting already. No, I mean, I guess the thing is with iPhones, just like being able to lock the exposure. I don't know if you do that, but like, if you want to, you know, shoot that window and you press and hold and kind of lock the exposure, then you can lower it or brighten it. And little things like that, I think, is just like,
I never futz with that.
yeah.
I should.
You should. It's
Okay.
like, especially on like a bright sunny day, sometimes you'll shoot something and it'll want to compensate for the dark parts, so it'll blow everything out. Yeah. But having some nice contrasty shadows, so if you lock the exposure and then bring the exposure down, you can get, you know, keep those shadows really dark and things like that. So
we were at the best Oscars.
I know. We were at an insane Oscars.
We lost, by the way, but, you know.
Guys, I'm sorry. No, there's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. Come on, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight, Best Picture.
For the people who don't know, we were at the Envelope Gate one together. Do you remember what year that was? Was it 2016? Was it 2017?
I think it was 20. So I photographed 2 years of the Oscars. I photographed 2015, skipped 2016. So I think that was 2017.
Okay.
I believe so. That was where
all
they
a blur.
announced La La Land, but then Moonlight was really the best picture. So
And from what I remember, please refresh my memory. I think we were standing next to each other when that happened.
I believe that was right. I was backstage, right on the wing, and they announced Best Picture. La La Land is on stage, and I'm sitting there with my camera getting ready for them to all walk back so I can shoot them coming off, you know, the stage as winners. And I hear to the right of me, which is like maybe 5 feet away, someone goes, they said the wrong picture. or they said the wrong movie or something like that. And then like quickly a bunch of whispers, and I think maybe we looked at each other like something's going on. And funny enough, in my mind, I was like, well, they can't do anything about it. Like, I was like, that's it. Like, I don't know what this is going down, but like, the show's on. So, and turns out they could do something about it. They did. They interrupted and brought on the right movie. But there was like a few moments before it even turned, over to the stage where everyone was like, and I was like, what is happening? Like, it was wild. I also wish I could scroll back. I think I had my phone on me, obviously, as well. And I think I just texted my sister or something like that. They were watching it, and I was like, something happened. Like I didn't even know, but I was witnessing chaos backstage, basically. So,
Which never happens at the Oscars.
no.
That thing is just so perfectly produced.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of people.
Tons of
photographers.
It is a well-oiled machine with a lot of moving parts. And the 2 years I was there, I also got to witness how many people come back and do it every year. It is the same group of people who have done this year after year after year, stage people and backstage people. And not only, like obviously the famous actors come back every year, but just the people who make that show happen. It is a community. And I was very thankful to kind of get a glimpse into that for a couple years.
Me too, totally.
Including the photographers, and the people who shoot it are the same people from LA Times who always come, and the same people from this. And so to get the opportunity to be there and be a part of it was just special.
And I think it's so smart that they bring back all the same people, because when something like that happens, to me, one of the miracles of that was not only did it get rectified very quickly, but it all happened on live TV. And it didn't take that much time to figure out that crazy dude screwed up, what the real result was, how to prove the real result, how to announce the correct winners.
Also, they understood what went wrong. Like how it wasn't even like what happened. It was like, oh, they had the envelope from the last announcement, the last award or whatever. Like it was crazy.
Well, it was further back. I think what happened was he had a crush on Emma Stone, and wanted her maybe to autograph.
Oh my gosh!
Because they have two. They have two. For those of you who don't know, there's two briefcases with two sets of envelopes, depending on which side the winner is going to come in, or the presenter.
Which side of the stage the presenter exits from. So stage right or stage left. They have two sets of envelopes, and those are the winners. That's how, those, it's not like there's a list going around. It's not like people all know.
Nobody knows.
So
this guy pocketed Best Actress in a leading role and had that in his pocket. And at the end of the show, he had two envelopes. One was truly for Best Picture, and one was for Emma, who had already won. And I guess he handed that over to Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. And that's the other thing that was kind of interesting to me about that scene was you couldn't have two more veteran actors.
Oh, for sure.
And yet they see that this is the wrong envelope, and they didn't call for a timeout.
Well, you said, it's a well-oiled machine. These two veteran actors aren't up there being like, there's a mistake. There's no mistakes in the Academy Awards, like it's not like that.
Are there any famous people that you are just so excited follow you on Instagram?
In the very early Instagram days, Jamie Oliver was one of the first people to follow me, the chef.
I love him, the Naked Chef.
And this was also early Instagram days, and he was very active. Like, he engaged and would comment. And I remember at the time, this is literally like 2011, 2012, people being like, "Is that Jamie Oliver?" Leaving comments on your Instagram.
Because they didn't have blue check marks back then.
No, and it was very much, and that's why people liked Instagram. It was just accessible. Everyone just had it or not or whatever. And since then, I don't think some of my favorites have kind of followed me. I'm a big Tycho fan, electronic dreamwave music. He's a follower.
Nice.
I also I geek out. Like it's not like this is. It's not like I'm like, oh, no big deal. Like I'm like, oh my god. The other one that I mean, because I worked for them, but the Academy follows me.
Of course.
And I always really liked when the Academy would like my photos. Because I just felt like being like, I'd like to thank the Academy for liking my Instagram post. I know it was probably just you running this social media
What do you
account.
mean just?
But
You have great pictures.
thanks.
You've got great pictures.
So those are the cool ones, I guess. Maybe there's more, but I haven't. I don't go through my followers often or something. So
You also do something interesting on Instagram that I don't see a lot of people do. You have decided not to have the like count or the comment count visible.
I started hiding. They made it a feature so you can hide the likes on your own photos, and I was doing that for a while. And now I actually set it. You can set it so you can hide them on all of Instagram. So when I scroll Instagram on my own, I don't see anyone's likes anymore. Honestly, it's because over my decade-long journey with Instagram, I have gone from, oh, I'm just posting to 50 people that I literally know to now I have hundreds of thousands of followers and get thousands of likes on all my images to kind of like back to like, okay, I'll get like 100, a couple hundred here and there. But my engagement just isn't what it used to be. I'm not actively trying to be an influencer. I basically never was the influencer where you like talk to the camera and do unboxings. That was never my gist. I was like, I can shoot cool photos of the things I do or for your brand or to travel, but I'm not going to I'm not the brand basically. And so I got to the point where it's like, I can't compare my engagement now to what it was in 2012. So I just don't need to look at it, and no one needs to see it, and it doesn't matter. And the jobs I'm getting now, they don't care what my engagement is.
I'll tell you, as somebody who ran the Academy account, it is heartbreaking to see how little engagement my personal account gets on stuff that I think are incredible. And it's not that I put mediocre stuff on the Academy, but often I would know, okay, this obscure person who was born on this day, it's a black and white picture. I'm obviously doing this just to educate people. We still would get 4,000 likes in like the first 5 minutes.
Easily, yeah.
Just because it's the Academy. And now, I mean, it's so stupid that I compare my own personal pictures to that or any of the companies I've worked with. But I think it's hard not to.
It's hard not to, exactly.
And so I admire you for getting rid of that one psychological hurdle that I think we all have, which is, what is the number? Who cares about the number?
Who cares? And that's one thing that I've really tried to stay true to myself when I was saying, like, I shoot photos of the people I know, and I shoot portraits. And maybe portraits, don't do as well on Instagram as epic landscape shots, but I've always just been like, this is my feed. I'm going to shoot what I like. And that is one thing that I feel like I do have a pretty good grasp on for myself is like, I'm the photographer that I want to be, and I want to show what I want to show. And it's not necessarily, especially like I studied fine art, and Instagram and social media wasn't a thing until like this decade, basically. So I don't want to like be an Instagram photographer. I want to just be a photographer who shares to Instagram. And I think that, coming from a fine art background helps me just kind of like stay true to like what I want to shoot and what I want to do. Even with all the pressure of likes and engagement and this and that, like you can't not look at it or pay attention, but it's a choice to be like, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't. So
your pictures are so beautiful.
Thank you.
It makes me wonder about hair and makeup and wardrobe, because even on your Instagram photos, and I don't know if these are just outtakes of movie shoots or magazine shoots or what, but people's hair look great, their clothes look great. When I click their name and I look at their pictures, I'm like, those aren't models sometimes. What you did, what witchcraft you did was phenomenal. And you don't like overdo whatever gimmicks there are. I wish I knew the terms in photography, but
I'm not a big retoucher or airbrusher or
but
whatever.
I guess what I'm asking is, do you provide hair and makeup? Do you do it yourself? Do you tell them, hey, you're going to have to get dolled up for this because I'm going to...
No, I mean, so if it's like a shoot for a job, there have been shoots where I do have hair and makeup and wardrobe, but honestly, those are few and far between. The majority of the projects I do, I just shoot the talent as they are. Like I said, I shoot real people. I take pride in making the everyday look good and the normal person look good and feel comfortable. A lot of people aren't comfortable in front of the camera, and a lot of people who I photograph don't normally pose in front of the camera. And I very much let them know, like, I don't shoot models. That's not what I do. I'm not calling the latest, modeling agency and getting that hot 20-year-old to work poses for me. Like, I actually do better with the everyday man kind of thing. And
do you have music playing?
For as much as I love music, I forget to turn music on shoots all the time. Like,
should a photographer have music on?
You can. It's a vibe. It's an energy, that you're trying to get something out of them. A lot of times, though, I'm shooting on location or outside or out and about, and it's real just like on the fly stuff. So I don't have like a crew and a setup and a boom box. It's just kind of like.
Is it good to have? You have an incredible bar here, by the way.
Thank you.
Incredibly stocked bar. Like, this is Mad Men level.
My boyfriend is the manager, the general manager at the Normandy Club.
Where's that?
It's in Koreatown. So when you get to your Koreatown neighborhood,
yeah, I'll learn about that.
He's got, I'm sure there's folks that he knows.
He seems to collect flasks. I see about a half dozen flasks over here.
We have way too many flasks. It was one of those things that, people give you as a groomsman or liquor.
Been to a lot of weddings.
Liquor companies give free swag, things like that.
You have taken some of my favorite pictures of Los Feliz. One of them was, there was a foggy morning or a foggy couple days maybe even, and you took a picture of a liquor store. Mm-hmm. And it's almost magical to me because it's dark, but the light parts are awesome.
There was one night a couple years ago where it was so foggy, and we don't get fog that often here. It's a rare thing.
Because we're not near any water.
We're not near any water. We're very landlocked in here, but up by the mountain too. But I went out with my camera. I also love photographing at night. I love low light photography. I love finding light in the darkness. You have to set up on a tripod. It's very patient kind of work.
Is that your secret?
Yeah, when you're shooting at night, you're not holding it because you've got long exposures to be able to capture everything. But I love the process of photographing at night because it is slower and you're very much like standing there while your image is exposing and waiting. And then if it doesn't turn out, you got to wait another 30 seconds to see if the next, that kind of thing. But that night with the fog, I went and ran around all over this neighborhood with my camera. And I shot some of my very favorite photos that night. Of the liquor store, there's a shot even just right out here where the light was kind of shining through trees, and it just real like suburban LA night scene.
And that's one good thing about this neighborhood too, is that at night, everybody's off the streets. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like there's a ton of people in the streets anyways. I mean, you have a cute little yard sale going on right here. And maybe when the Greek lets out, there's some traffic. Mm-hmm. But it is very suburban, isn't it?
And that's why I love this neighborhood. Is like, unlike places like Koreatown or downtown where you feel like you're in a city. You walk out from your 6th floor apartment building onto the street, and it's more of like a San Francisco or New York vibe or something like that. But this neighborhood, people have yards. There's apartment buildings mixed in with homes and driveways, and it's a really good combination of city but suburban, and like there's, I wouldn't want to live in just the real, downtown vibe. I do love being able to walk and people having grass and yards. And one of the things that I know you've commented on is every year I photograph all the abandoned Christmas trees.
You are reading my mind.
Laying everywhere. And I love, so first of all, it's like end of December, January, everyone's just dumping their Christmas trees out. But this neighborhood is so walkable. I make it like my life's mission to cover every single street all up and down Los Feliz. Like if you were to watch my, walking path, I zigzag and make sure no street goes unwalked, just looking for Christmas trees. And because we live in the neighborhood we do, that's why they're out there, is because it's not like we're downtown or, people are taking their trash out on trash day and leaving their Christmas trees for the recyclers to come pick up or whatever. But
you took it a step further, because yes, it is true. I mean, I guess most neighborhoods have Christmas trees that are out. Los Feliz seems to have way more.
Yeah.
Maybe there's way more Christians. I don't know.
I don't know.
But you took it a step further, and you're like, why are you wrapping this in plastic?
Well, and then now that because where I grew up, we didn't leave our trees on the street. This is like, I think, a city thing. You took your tree to like a lot, they'd be like, okay, Christmas is over. These church parking lots are taking the trees, or you can go dump it here, that kind of thing. So just seeing all these abandoned Christmas trees all over the streets when I moved here was a really weird thing to see. And it's also hilarious to me that people spend all month long like admiring their perfect tree that they've decorated and they've picked out, only to, as soon as the holiday's done, literally leave it in the gutter. And now that I photograph it so much and I post these to my Instagram stories, I have for years, people comment from all over the place of the world being like, is this allowed? How are they leaving their trees? So I've read a lot of the guidelines in this, and they won't take trees if they're wrapped in plastic, because they just get mulched up. They won't take trees if your stand is still attached to them. They won't take trees that are still decorated. They won't take trees that are flocked, with the like paint or whatever they spray. So if you want your tree properly recycled, it just needs to be a bare tree, and they'll take it. And I've watched the trash guys come and pick it up, and they literally have like on the trucks that they're picking out, they break them all down and crunch them all up. And it just turns into like tree mulch basically. But when you wrap your tree in plastic, that's just literally going to the dump, just like anything else you wrap in plastic. If you don't remove your Christmas tree stand, it's just going to the dump. So just don't wrap your thing that comes from the earth in plastic. It doesn't need to happen.
You don't take a lot of food pictures.
I don't. I used to. This was early Instagram days. I would shoot my food. My sister, I think, came up with a little hashtag called Hungry Lover, which was what we would post our food for. But no, and I'll sometimes post the things I cook at home and post them to my stories. But I'm not a real food. Once again, these niches, like I'm not a food photographer. I'm not a concert photographer. So
what restaurants do you like to eat at in Los Feliz?
I have tried all of them. Obviously, before I lived in this neighborhood, Alcove and Little Dom's were like the go-tos. Now I'm such a grumpy Los Feliz local. I'm like, I don't want to deal with the crowds. Can't be bothered.
Which both of those have crowds, depending on when you want to go.
Yeah.
Little Dom's, what do you eat at Little Dom's?
The blueberry ricotta pancakes are absolutely to die for. Best pancakes in town, I will say, and I will die on that hill. I don't go to Alcove too much. It's a little overpriced. The food isn't great. One thing that I think is funny, I've lived in this neighborhood, in this apartment for 10 years, and right over here is Yucca's taco stand. And I had been a couple times, gotten the tacos, gotten the burritos, wasn't like thrilled. It was fine. It wasn't until recently, there's a whole burger renaissance happening in LA, burger pop-ups, that one of the burger pop-ups I love posted that they've got a good cheeseburger. And I was like, okay, I'll go check it out.
That Yucca's has a good cheeseburger.
Yucca's has a good cheeseburger. And I didn't want to be the white person going to the like classic taco stand and ordering a cheeseburger. But now that I know about this, and now that I've been a regular, because it's a great cheeseburger and it's $5. Hot tip.
I'm in.
Now when I go, I stand in line and wait for my food, and here people are constantly ordering cheeseburgers. It is like one of their most popular menu items.
This podcast is worth it for this right here.
100%. The Yucca's cheeseburger, you're hearing it right here. Best $5 deal. They're not too big. It's a good little smash burger. I say this in a good thing. It's got like McDonald's cheeseburger vibes, you know what I mean? But better. So 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Because I felt the same way about the tacos.
Yeah. It's just not my kind of taco.
Right.
It's a specific type.
And it's like a nice old lady that works there.
It's a family. She's been running it forever. I think it's been there for like 20, 25 years. Like
I tried it and I was like, is there something wrong with me?
No, it's
I needed to order the burger.
Yeah. Now you know, cheeseburger. I think they do a double too, but I like just the single little. I'll honestly, like, if I've been working all day and had too much coffee and haven't really eaten, I'll be like, I'm just going to go get that cheeseburger. And I'll walk over there, stand in that parking lot, get my little cheeseburger. Oftentimes eat it just like on the street somewhere, not even wait to take it anywhere. But that's something I can't believe it took me 10 years to figure out.
We're going to end it with this. Is the Los Feliz post office the best post office in LA?
Yes, and that's why I have my P.O. box there. And I said, even if I don't live in Los Feliz, I will come to this neighborhood, easily park, get right in, and leave. So I have my post office secured. That's what I use as my like business address. And that's my post office, regardless of where I am in LA.
And it's great because it's open late, relatively late.
Relatively late.
It's open on Saturdays until like, what, 3 o'clock?
Yeah, 3 or 4 or something. There's always parking somehow.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is weird. Mm-hmm. I mean, Christmas, it gets a little hard. But also the people are great who work there.
I mean, the people are great in this whole neighborhood. That's the thing.
That's
I walked down the streets, and this is the neighborhood where people say hi to you when you walk around. Like, people make eye contact and do the like nod and smile, or they say hi, and I very much feel that like this is a neighborhood. Like I know a lot of my neighbors in this building, but also just like in my wider circumference. The coffee shops around here, they recognize you as a customer. I know all the local dogs in the neighborhood. That's why, and you know, granted that comes with living somewhere for a decade, but I would struggle moving and not having that like accessibility on foot that creates this like community that I love this neighborhood for. So,
Lauren Lemon?
Tony?
Lauren Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
I keep wanting to call you Laurel. Do people call you Laurel?
No, but like I said, my name just kind of blurs into the other things.
Lauren Lemon, thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Of course. Happy to. Friendliest guy I know.
Wasn't she great? You know who else is a fancy photographer who finds the perfect light and just makes you just glimmer with internal joy and comme ci, comme ça? Our Patreons, who are with us every day in our hearts. When you stoke us, you're saying, Tony, Jordan, here's a little trip down to memory lane. Here's an extra spring roll in your bag of Jamba Juice. Here's a Snoop Dogg CD. Every buck you hand over helps us keep this insane project rolling. So shout out to our Patreons, Nancy Rommelman, Allie Miller, Sean Atlow, Matt Mills, Sean Wallace, Greg and Molly, Jamie Taylor, George Wright, Mark Johnson, Kira Ann, Barney Grinke, Ben Welch, and Henry Furman. Want to hear your name at the end of next week's show? Go to patreon.com/hereinla and give till it hurts. Also, shout out to our Angelinos. To be an Angelino, all you have to do is PayPal us $25 or more, and we will list you in the Here in LA website forever. You'll also be given a number to denote how early you got in. Angelino number 1 is Allie Miller. Number 2, George Wright. Number 3, Rita Joanne. Number 4, Jason Sutter. Number 5, Grant Houghton. And number 6 is Rob Baker. Just PayPal us your hard-earned cash to busblog@gmail.com. Want to support us but you're broke? No problem. Post your favorite episode on your Facebook wall. Tweet your favorite episode. Or just say something nice. Tell your friends, tell all your friends, tell them that Here in LA is spelled with an A. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google and Lord knows what. Here in LA is produced by myself, Tony Pierce, and the Polaroid, picture taken, shake it till you break it, Mr. Green Thumb, Jordan Katz. Editing, mixing, and music supervision by Jordan Katz. Songs by Orgone and Jordan Katz. Special thanks to Cindy for creating the logo, Jen Adams for inspiring me, and Ford for hiring Lauren to snap pics at the big show. Follow your dreams!